Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Boss Fight Breakdowns. We are just about to the culmination of the story quest, and we have one of the last boss fights before the final confrontations against the members of the Black Order in today's video. So I'm very excited with how this series has been coming along, and I hope that you found it helpful. If you have, please feel free to leave a like on this video if this one was as helpful as some of the previous ones that you've seen. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as the subscription is free and easy, and I bring content to you on a daily basis. So without further ado, let's jump into our first boss fight, which is against Red Skull. And this fight is an interesting one because it involves a mechanic that we haven't really seen in some of the previous fights. Now, the first phase of this fight is very, very simple, as you just need to rip into Red Skull directly. He does get a little bit amplified up in his second phase, where he is imbued with some health, or not some health, but he really can't be staggered out in this second phase due to the benefits that are granted to him by the Rainbow ISO 8. That being said, you can still deal a decent amount of damage to him. You just want to prioritize where possible using your ability and synergy attacks, as those are the best ways to burn through him. Now, he takes minimized amounts of damage over the course of this fight, but again, there's nothing indicating that you cannot deal damage to him, and with enough persistence, you may even be able to stagger him out once or twice, though he does recover very quickly from that should you happen to stagger him out. So take your heaviest hitting team member and lay into him with as many of the attacks and synergies and abilities as you can. As you can see here, I personally resorted to finishing out the second phase of his fight with Gambit, as you can burn through health and stagger bars very efficiently with the deadly deal attack that he has at his disposal. Now, for the third phase of this fight, Hela sucks the soul out of Red Skull and imbues it into the Destroyer armor. And this is where the fight really kind of kicks it up a notch to a different area, because the Destroyer himself is nearly impervious to damage, and you can get in minimal amounts of chip damage and other things to him if you just attack him head on, but it's not going to be your best method of damage output. Instead, you have these little Hydra Grunts that jump into the fight, and you can see the particle effects swirling around them, indicating that they too, like Red Skull, are imbued with the Rainbow ISO 8. And as soon as you knock out one of the characters, they will leave a little shining gem on the ground, and you'll notice a drastic difference in damage output, specifically to the stagger bar, but also in terms of the actual damage that he takes to his health bar once you have your characters supercharged with the benefits of the Rainbow ISO 8. Now, you do have a lot of access to the ISO 8 in its rainbow variety with the grunts that are continuously spawned in, but this fight does have an added level of difficulty to it because the Destroyer's attacks, most of them have a pretty wide area of effect, and they can be quite annoying to deal with or really work with at all. So you do want to keep your distance, especially when you have this massive green aura in a circle around him, as you're not going to have a very good time at all in terms of the damage that you will be receiving from that attack. Now, like any other boss fight, you're going to do best to get in as much damage as you can when he is staggered out. That's one of the things that I think is a little bit unfortunate about Dr. Doom's extreme attack, is it does a decent amount of damage, but it has a very long startup animation, and it doesn't do anything to decrease the timer of the stagger recharge from your opponents. So most of the damage that I get from my EX abilities have been from Wolverine and from Miles Morales and Gambit, as they have the more reliable damage output extreme ability attacks. As you'll see here, with all three of them being unloaded at once, there's a pretty significant chunk of the Destroyer's health that's taken out there. Honestly, once you've gotten the pattern down for his attacks, you should be able to dance around them fairly simply, and I believe you even take some decreased amounts of damage from the Destroyer and from your opponents in general when you are amped up with the benefits of the Rainbow ISO 8. Now, you do want to keep in mind that there is a cooldown on the activation period of the crystals that you pick up during the course of this fight, so you want to take advantage of the damage that you can do while you have those crystals active, and that goes for using your extreme attacks in burning down these characters as well. Now, again, you want to use your extreme attacks wherever you can to get an amounts of damage, but it's best to try and get them to line up with the enemy's stagger bar. And for that, I just really don't think that Dr. Doom is the best fit for these types of fights, though his extreme attacks are quite helpful in terms of burning out the opponents and the smaller grunts that you face. So there is a benefit and a time and a place for his extreme attack, to be sure. And with a final use of Miles' extreme attack, we do have the remainder of the Destroyer taken down. Now, the second boss fight that we are looking at today is beginning the end game of the final rush in one of the final areas. And this is where you will fight the members of the Black Order in a set order. And the first fight happens to be against Ebony Maw, who, in my opinion, is the easiest members of the members of the Black Order to fight against, but he does have a couple of attacks that can be pretty tricky. Now, he has a couple of attacks where he beckons down stones from the air. There's that smaller ring-style attack that you just witnessed there, or there's the massive scale attack that encompasses basically the whole arena. But you can avoid those attacks fairly well as long as you pay attention to when they're coming down and are pendant on having a reliable roll around the attacks that come through. The other attacks that you want to watch out for, apart from his standard attacks that he throws into you, is he does have an area of effect burst type attack similar to what we've seen from Gambit and some other characters that you can play as that can deal some hefty amount of damage, but also he has some of his projectile needle type attacks that he will disperse out either in quick one round shots or in a series of bursts. Now, he doesn't start using the Soul Stone to his benefit until you get into the second stage of the fight, but at this point you should have most, if not all, of your extreme attacks online, where the first opportunity that you have and can burn down his stagger bar, you can unleash your extreme attacks onto him and thus increase the amount of damage that you are dealing to him and burn through the second phase of his fight all that much quicker. And as you saw there, we took off about 25 to 30% of the remainder of his health. And even though Dr. Doom's extreme attack came in a little bit later than what I would have hoped, it did still deal a decent amount of damage to his stagger bar and pushed us closer to the end of the fight. Now, Ebony Maw, at this stage, it's really just a matter of time before we can take him down. But with a couple of final attacks here, we have him finished out. And that is going to do it for today's episode. If you enjoyed, again, don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. And we will see you with the next installment of Boss Fight Breakdowns on Friday and with a brand new video tomorrow as well. Thanks again for watching, and you have yourself a fantastic rest of your day.